Okay, our next task is to filter events based on the activities that a user is actually going to, or have been to, or is hosting. That's the goal of this particular section. But what we're going to do, we'll approach this one slightly differently, because what we've been doing so far in this section is pretty much enough for you to be able to figure this one out without me demonstrating it. But I want to get to a starting point. Then I'd like you to have a go at pausing the video and trying to code the rest of this on your own. So what we'll do, first of all, we'll go back to VS Code just to get a starting place. Because for each of these profile related activities, we don't want to return the full activity DTO, because this is going to contain things like the activity comments and the attendees, when all we really want is just to display a card of which activity a user has been to or is hosting or is going to. So what we'll do in the application and the profiles feature, what we'll do is we'll create a new class and we'll call it user activity DTO. And like I say, I just want to give you a starting point to show you exactly what we want to return for each of these activities. And what we'll do is we'll add a GUID for the activity ID. And we'll need to bring in system. And then we need a string for the title. And we'll need a string for the category. And we're going to need a date time for the date of the activity. Now there's one more thing that we're going to add here, and that's the host username. Because this will act as a helper so that we can fish out the filters for the activities that a user is actually hosting. But we don't need to return this to the client. So what we can do, if we want a property that we add to our class to help us out, but we don't actually want to return to the client, we can add an attribute called JSON_ignore. And then we can go ahead and use the quick fix and bring in using system text JSON serialization. Now what I'll do next is show you the end result, what you're looking to achieve, and there are several different ways of getting to that point. But what I'll do first is show you what we're aiming for, and then it's up to you. What I'd recommend is you do give this a go and try and code it yourself. What I would also recommend is you commit your current changes into source control, so you've got a place to go back to. If you get stuck, you give up, and you just want to go and see how I've done it myself, that's also absolutely fine. But do commit your changes, give yourself a place to go back to, and watch the next part of this, which is the end result of what you're aiming for, and it really doesn't matter how you get there. So this is the end result, what we're aiming for here. Inside the user profile, what we should see is an events tab, and we should be able to go to their future events, their past events. In this case, Tom doesn't have any past events he was attending, and the events that they are hosting. And we want to display the events in a card, and they should be clickable links that take them to the actual activity that they're looking for. Also, inside Postman, when you've completed the API part, then there's 3 requests in here to go and get a user's past, future, and activities that they're hosting. So what you should see is something similar to this. When you click on send, you should expect to get a list of activities in the user activity DTO format that contains the ID, the title, the category, and the date. Just enough information to display the cards that we see in the user's profile. So we've got the activities in the past, we've got the activities in the future, which is going to be the default case when it comes to filtering, and also the activities this particular user is hosting. So this is the goal of what we're aiming for here. And just as before, inside the student assets folder, there's a section 21 challenge folder, and we've got a series of steps that you could take to achieve this particular challenge. And I'll just open these up. And you may choose to do it the same way that I've done it, and in that case, these instructions will guide you in the different classes and components that I created in order to achieve this particular goal. So it's just a list of basic steps without any real details, apart from a few hints about what to call a few variables and the class, etc. But just a list of basic instructions. Now, in my solution, I made use of Automapper. I wanted to use projection. But you do not have to use Automapper. If you've got another idea of how to achieve this, please give it a go, however you feel comfortable in achieving this particular goal. If you're more confident on the API side, then please go ahead and just go as far as the API. If you're confident on both, then please try and achieve both. The instructions here are designed to guide you through both sides of this, but no detail in there. And of course, you've also got the solution to rely on if you do get stuck, so please do take a look at that. And the solution is just really the code for each of these steps. But in the next lesson, I'm going to talk through the solution that I used for this, so you get an understanding of the thought process and why I've done things a certain way. So the next lesson is going to be the solution covered in some detail. But please pause the video and give this a go yourself and see if you can get something resembling what we just looked at in the end goal there.